This
Start.
conference will now be recorded.
Yes, please.
Okay, so guys, firstly, any questions, anything from, did you all try the requirement, anything, let's say any questions or anything, that you all want to ask before we can start the interview? Okay, so, okay, so let's start the interview. So Sanjay, are you ready for the interview?
Yeah, somewhat. I
Okay.
was quite busy with some other project. Yes, I'm somewhat quite.
Not a problem. Yeah, not a problem. The main intention of the session is to get a feel of what the questions are in the interview, how do we answer it and everything. So that's the main intention of this interview. So I won't stretch it more than 15 or 20 minutes and we can have discussion on top of it. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, Sanjay. So can you go ahead, just tell me something about yourself, introduce yourself and give me your experience with Azure and Azure DevOps as such.
Hi, myself Sanjay. I have almost 10 plus years experience in managing onshore and offshore remote infrastructure.
Hmm.
Around 3 plus years experience in DevOps, Azure Cloud and Azure DevOps,
Hmm.
where I worked in IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Uh,
Okay.
I have good knowledge on Azure backup, restoring, deleting VMs,
Hmm.
and managing the ARM templates.
Okay.
Uh, and Apart from that, the daily activity we worked on based on ServiceNow tickets, where
Hmm.
we get the request for creating multiple resource groups or virtual machines.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Apart from
Okay.
that,
Hmm.
mhm, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, please go
that's
ahead.
it.
Okay, great. Great. So Sanjay, I see that you had like about a good amount of experience in the IT industry, and you've been working on both the on-premises and the cloud, right?
Yep.
So, what is the biggest motivation of let's say moving to the cloud? Like, how did that happen? And since when are you specifically working on Azure and Azure DevOps as such?
Yeah. Initially, I was working in Windows and VMware. As
Mm-hmm.
the clients are now moving to cloud, because it gives uh, uh, they no need to manage the data
Mm-hmm.
centers, so cloud will provide the all the services where they can get the uh, infrastructure instantly.
Okay.
So from past years I started working on this.
Okay, great. So the current project that you're working on, is that based on Azure and you're leveraging Azure DevOps technology, isn't it?
Yes, it's a mixed mode where we
Mm-hmm.
support, uh,
Okay.
where we work on site and on cloud premises also.
Okay, so it's a hybrid model that you say that you have
uh,
something on the on-premises and also the cloud and etc.
yes, we need to manage both. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so the role that we are interviewing you for is specifically for Azure DevOps and Azure etc. So I'll just ask a couple of things around that to just see how do you fit in let's say this particular job role. So are you comfortable with that?
Sure, please.
Okay, great. So what do you really know about Azure tenant, and what is the main difference that you feel is between an Azure tenant and an Azure subscription?
Okay, Azure tenant, it's like a renting the service from the cloud,
Hmm.
Azure cloud.
Hmm. Okay.
It's a Whereas subscription, it's linked to the tenant. For
Okay.
example, Azure tenant is a directory, whereas a subscription is an object that represents uh, the folder.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Okay.
and
So the question is that
mm,
then if you have a tenant, then let's say I have a tenant, I've created a tenant in Azure. Can I go ahead and create multiple subscriptions under the same tenant?
yes, we can.
Hmm.
One
Okay.
tenant can
So
have multiple subscription.
okay. So I am facing an issue right now. So what I'm doing is that I have a free trial subscription already with me. Now I am
Mhm.
trying to create another free trial subscription under the same tenant, but it's telling me an error that I'm not eligible. So do you know why this is and what can we do to avoid this out?
Uh, if it is free trial, maybe that
Hmm.
got expired, and
Okay.
once it expired, we need to go with pay as you go subscription.
Okay. So you mean to say that for per a tenant, I can only have one free trial subscription. I cannot have multiple free trials. Is that what
Yes,
you're trying to tell?
yes.
Okay. 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 Great then. So what do you know about a service known as an Azure storage account?
Azure storage account, it's uses to store unstructured data.
Hmm.
Uh, Basically, we can save the blobs, file shares, queues, tables, and disk in those containers.
Okay. Okay.
And we have LRS, ZRS, GRS, and GZRS types of replications in that.
Hmm. Okay. So now I have a requirement since that you are speaking about replications. I have a requirement here that my client is, let's say, sitting in a region like East US2. Okay.
Mhm.
And the client is a bit worried that if the data center goes down, right, his entire data may be taken down. At the same time, he also wants us to do a cost optimization. So what I want is that a model like my data should be available in multiple regions. At the same time, I need to reduce my cost. So what kind of replication tier would you recommend to this kind of a client?
Um, I would give ZRS. I will recommend zone
Okay. Mhm.
replication storage.
Okay. So the question is that, okay, fine, great. You have recommended a zone redundancy. So which is good. Now the thing is that will the client be able to see the data in the secondary location?
Primary is East US2, right?
Right,
Secondary.
primary is ES2S2. So secondary is something that is decided by Azure, which I'm not really bothered about. But the question here is that you have recommended ZRS, we have switched our storage to ZRS. Now the client wants to also basically read the data from ZRS. Can you do that?
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Okay, no worries. Not a problem. Fine. So, okay. So the same way, now I have a same client, like I have a same client who has also a requirement, let's say, to create a storage account in a data center like India, because he also has a region, or he also basically has his business spanned in India also. Now, what I
Mhm.
did is that I went ahead, I selected Central India region to create my storage account, but I don't see the ZRS option. Now, why do you think this is, or what could be the issue here?
Uh, because it could be zone specific.
Hmm. Okay. So, does India, I mean, does the data center, like, I mean, the question here is that, do you think all the regions in the world, all the data centers in the world support a zone redundancy?
No.
Okay. Okay. Great. Got it. Just a second. Okay. So now I have the same client. Okay. Like we have created a zone redundancy and etc. He's comfortable with that. He's good with that. Now he has two types of data. Okay.
Mhm.
Like he's a banking organization and he has two types of data. One where it's being very frequently accessed, two where it is not being so frequently accessed. Now you need to design the storage account in such a way that the cost is optimized, at the same time making sure that the data is readily available. So what can you think of, or what strategy can you really think of out here to implement for this particular client?
So the data which is not used, is it on particular specific region, or
Like
it
in
can be
all the
accessible
regions.
from multiple regions?
Like in all the regions, no, I'm not really looking over from a redundancy perspective. So
Okay.
the data that is not being frequently accessed, I just want to archive it. Like I just want to, let's say, you have a transaction that is like later than or greater than, let's say, 5 years old. Okay. And I just want to, archive this out. And there is also some data which is like being accessed every day, like daily transaction reports and etc. So
Okay.
can you think of how can you manage this out?
Sure. The data accessed frequently, that we can make the hot tier, and the
Okay.
data which is not used frequently, and those we
Mm-hmm.
can make it as cold tier,
Okay,
where
great.
we can
So
reduce
fine.
the
Mm-hmm.
cost.
Okay, great. So now the question is that I have something like about 10,000 different files, okay? Out of which
Mhm.
5,000 different files I want to put it in hot, and after let's say a 6 months period, I want to shift them to cold. So is there a way that I can automate this out?
Uh, Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Okay, because see, the amount of data what we are handling right now is huge, right? So when you say it
Yes,
is like hot and cool, so I want to see whether there is a way to automate this out. Okay, anyways, not a problem with that. So I mean, this is an area where I would suggest you to do just a bit of brush up on, like how do you manage the life cycle of the data.
sure.
Now, fine. So now I
Yeah, to be
have.
frank, we can change
Mhm.
at any point of time hot to cold.
Correct, but I have like somewhere around 10,000 blobs to change from hot to cold.
Okay,
So manually, it will be like a huge administrative headache, right? So that's the reason I'm seeing if there is an option to automate the changing out.
okay, okay.
Okay, so cool. So fine, not a problem. Now, again, the same client, the same storage account, you have provisioned, everything is good, great. Now the client has three different teams out here. Like
Mhm.
one a developer, two a QA, three a DevOps engineers. Now I want the DevOps engineers to have full access onto the storage account, the developers to have let's say something like a read and write access on the storage account, and the QAs to just have a read access on the storage account. Now DevOps engineers are added onto the Azure portal, they'll be able to basically go ahead and look into the storage account and etc. But developers sorry, developers and QAs, they don't have access to log in onto the Azure portal. So how can you unblock them and make sure that my data is protected?
Uh, we need to provide read access for them.
Okay, but I don't want to provide I don't want to provide an access onto the Azure portal at all. They all they need is just that storage account. That's it.
Okay.
So developers they need a read and write, but QAs need something like only a read. That's it. They shouldn't be able to do anything. They just have to see whether the data is coming in or not, because they are doing a bit of quality analysis and etc.
Okay, I'm not sure about this.
Okay, no problem. So did you hear about something called as access keys and shared access signatures?
Yes. Uh,
Okay, so what are they?
uh, Basically, as you suggest, as you ask
Mhm,
about that, to provide
mhm,
access based on the keys.
mhm.
Using that keys, they can access the data.
Okay, so what do you think, or what do you feel that there's a big? I mean, what do you think is the biggest difference between an access key and a shared access signature? Then,
Shared access key, we generate the keys from Azure portal. Using that, they can
mhm.
access that. Whereas
Okay,
shared access, they can access directly, where we can provide owner access, contribute, and read access.
okay, okay, fine. So let's say you have given someone an access key. Okay, you have
Mhm,
given a person called X from a development team the access key. Okay,
mhm.
the question is that would that person have a full access, or would he have just a read and write, or just a specific access out here?
That person will have only specific access based on the key
Hmm.
we provided.
Okay, fine. So you've given that key, great, everything is working fine. Now, after a week, that person leaves the organization. Okay, so is there a way to is there a way to make sure that key expires? Because I am not comfortable enough to just hand over this person that key, and I mean, my data is at stake right now, right? So, is there a way that we can make this key an expired one?
Yes, we can do it. While issuing key, we can set the expiration date,
Hmm.
and we can renew it.
Okay. Okay. So, are you sure about the setting the expiration day while generating an access key? Because when I
Uh,
log into Azure portal, I don't see anything like that.
yes, I think To be frank,
Mhm.
previously I have not used this kind of thing, but yes,
Okay.
I read somewhere.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Not a problem. So now, Sanjay, is that fine? The client is really satisfied, and the client wants to now go for 10 different storage accounts. Okay.
Mhm.
For different teams, he has like different teams, so he wants to go for 10 different storage accounts. So how would you suggest creating this out?
First, we need to ask what is the region, and then
Mhm.
what kind of tire he want to store.
Fine, you
So
have all the details. So you, the region is East US2, the tier is hot, the replication is, let's say, ZRS. So you have everything. You have all the details with you. Whatever that you need, you basically got all those details. You also have the naming convention and etc. But the thing right now is that you need to create 10 different storage accounts of the same, let's say, tier, I mean, of the same configuration with the name change,
okay,
and you need to
um,
provision some containers inside it.
okay,
So how would you
then
approach this out? Mhm.
we can go with the ARM template or PowerShell
Mhm.
using
Okay.
these tools. We can do it automated instead of creating
Okay.
manual.
Okay, great. So specifically coming down to ARM, what kind of a function would you use in ARM in order to make sure the resources are iterated? Like what would be your logic in the ARM template to make sure that you can create multiple resources at a go?
Basically, to be frank,
Hmm.
we are using the template that already existing in our environment. We
Okay.
just provide the names, what and all the new names required for that storage account and the required information.
Hmm.
So we are updating.
Okay. Okay. So you mean to say that you are using a pre-existing template?
Yes.
Okay. So I mean, like, had you had an opportunity or had you had a chance to, kind of work on PowerShell script in order to make sure to automate your infrastructure?
Yes, I write a few simple PowerShell script. Basically, in the current environment, we use the existing template. We just
Hmm.
modify that since I'm new to
Okay.
this environment.
Okay.
So I had to work on those things.
Okay. 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 Cool. Not a problem. So, like, what, I mean, how many years that you've been working on Azure DevOps as such? Like, Azure DevOps as a technology or Azure DevOps as a CI/CD for you?
From past years, I'm Azure Cloud, where I need to
Hmm.
maintain infrastructure. From past one
Okay.
year, I'm working on this.
Okay. So you mean to say that in the past 3 years, I mean, out of those past 3 years, 2 years you've been doing some kind of an administrative role, and 1 year you've been on Azure DevOps, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Great. So, no, what you did is that you wrote an ARM template or you had an ARM template, you used it, you provisioned your storage accounts and etc. Okay.
Mhm.
Now the developers are complaining that they're not able to access the storage account even if they have an access key. They are getting something like a forbidden error while connecting using the storage explorer. Now, what do you think would be the issue here and how would you troubleshoot this out? So I am a developer, you're giving me the access key, you provision my storage accounts and etc. Now
Mhm.
I'm using a Azure Storage Explorer, like a Microsoft Storage Explorer, sorry. And then I'm using that particular access key you have given. I put the access key, I'm able to see the storage account. But when I click
Mhm.
the blobs and containers inside it, I get an error message saying that the request is forbidden. So anything that you can think of that could be wrong here, or anything related to the configuration that could be wrong here.
Sorry, I'm not sure on that.
Okay, okay, no worries. Okay, so now moving on to the Azure DevOps part of things,
Mhm.
what kind of a branching and merging strategies are implemented in your project?
I have very less knowledge on that because
Mhm.
I recently came. I may require some more time to brush up my knowledge on those.
Okay, okay, no worries. No problem. And also, do you know something related to branching policies as such, like anything on those lines?
Actually, to be frank, I need to brush up on those things.
Okay,
As I told recently, I came. I required few more, little
okay,
more time to understand about those
okay.
things.
Sure, no, not a problem, not a problem. Okay, Sanjay, then I'm good with the interview. Any questions for me?
Yeah, if you give me good opportunity so that I'll give my best, more experience on maintaining infrastructure. So basically, I'm looking towards DevOps. So, planning to switch on this. So if you
Got
give
it.
me good opportunity, I'm ready to.
Okay, got it. No problem, Sanjay. So I'll pass on the feedback to the HR, and the HR will get back to you. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And yep. So guys, that's how the interview is going to be. Now, this is how a real-time interview is going to be. Like if I were to interview some candidate on, let's say, these particular topics, like Azure storage, or let's say anything related to Azure DevOps or ARM templates. Now, these will be the key areas where I'll be focusing upon. And Sanjay, it was a good enough interview. Like it was a good interview. You need to brush up on a couple of concepts like lifecycle management policies and like access keys and shared access signature and stuff like that. But it was a good enough
Okay.
interview. You have managed that well.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, actually, I could not prepare well because I need to work parallelly, different shifts and all. So
Yeah, no problem. I mean, we'll keep having a lot of mock interviews. I don't expect like 100% call. I mean, 100% interview clearance standard from you all. So not a problem. We'll keep doing a lot of mock interviews. That's what the intention really is. That's what the intent that I do have really is. But these are the areas what you will be asked on, and this is how the questions what you'll be asked on. So it's not going to be pretty straightforward questions. It's going to be scenario based. It's going to be like
okay.
a specific scenario, and then how do you handle this scenario out? And with that scenario, we try to analyze what your concept really is, or what level of concept or what level of knowledge you got basically on the concept.
Okay.
Guys, any questions with this interview, guys? Like, does anyone feel that you could have done better in this interview, or does anyone feel that what the answer what Sanjay has given is not appropriate, or you could have given something better? Anyone, guys? Anything? Yes, Chandra, go ahead. Yep. Okay.
Sorry, I joined late actually, so
Yeah,
I didn't
not a
hear that
problem.
covered much.
Mm-hmm. Not a problem. So, couple of things out here. So when I say when I mean there was a different thing like different types of replication tiers, right? When we were asking questions on different types of replication tiers, you were right in telling that the client needs to provide the storage account in ZRS, let's say, to avoid the cost. But will the data be available to read from ZRS? No, not really. So can I, if let's say I change my tier to GRS, and then will I be able to read the data? No. Then which tier supports reading of the data from a secondary tier? It is RAGRS, which is read access geo redundant storage. That's the reason you have something known as RAGRS or RAGZRS, read access geo zone redundant storage, which is the most costliest option out here. That is one thing. Secondly, the question was that you have like the same client, and you have, let's say, that particular client out here is like wanting to manage the blobs, right? I said there are about 10,000 files out here, and I would like to see if there is a way to kind of change these 10,000 files after a period of time. Then if there is an automation, yes, there is automation for it, using something known as lifecycle management policy. Like, if you all remember, if you all recollect this one, we had something known as lifecycle management rules, where we were able to set multiple rules, and we were able to give rules based upon the time, the date, and etc. And you had options like whether you want to delete it, or whether you want to delete let's say a blob, or whether you want to, let's say, change it to hot, change it to cool, whatever it is. Do you all recollect that, guys? Does anyone recollect it? I mean, it's okay to say that you don't, but I just want to see if that if this concept is clear, or if this understanding is clear.
Used previously, but need to work on again
Hmm.
those things.
Okay.
Yes, we can change the hot to cool, cool to hot. There is no issue on that.
Correct, but can I automate it? Like I have 10,000 different files. I have like 10,000 different blobs out here. So how do I manage this out? Is the question. So
Yeah,
anyone guys?
there is yeah, there is option to set sometimes. So like 365 days or 190 days like that we can set it. After that it will move to
Mhm.
the hot to cool automatically
Right, but where will you set it?
in the storage account level if I'm not wrong.
Mhm. So any specific option that you can think of in the storage account level to set this out? Any specific thing, anything that is specific to the storage account or anything that you can think of as such? Or anyone, like it's an open question. I mean, it's okay to say that you don't know so that I can show you all where to create it and stuff.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, so let me show that to you all. So I'm just creating a storage account as now. Okay, so let me go into that storage account. The storage account was successfully provisioned, and I have a container inside it. And I'll create, I mean, I don't have a container, I'll just create one. So I'll say it's a test container. And inside this particular container, I basically have all the files that are uploaded. So all the sensitive information that is uploaded, let's say transaction data. So I'll just upload some dummy data here. So I'm uploading a couple of dummy data out here, just like a couple of PNG files and etc. Now, if you look at this out, there are activity logs and all these things, advisors and all that stuff. Now, all the data that is starting with AP is an old data. Every blob that is starting with something like AP is very old. Now, I want to I want to make sure to change this to hot, or sorry, to change this to cool or archive, or better, I want to delete this out after a particular period in time. How do I do it? Is come down to the storage account level, go to something called lifecycle management policies, and add a rule. And when I add a rule out here, I can say this is a test rule, something like this. Delete number of days 30. I'll say don't apply to everything. Limit blob with filters. And I'll say the value if the modification is greater than 30. If the modification is greater than 30, then delete the blob. And I'll say filter set. It's giving me an option to say my container / prefix. I'll say it is test container / AP. Every blob that is starting with AP, and then add this out. So I now have a rule to basically manage the life cycle of my entire blobs. Rule to what? To do a management of the life cycle on how should they be. Do I want to delete it? Do I want to change it to cool? Is what decided by this particular rules out here. So I can delete it, I can change it to move it to cool, I can move it to archive, whatever it is, and I can say update this out. And is there a way to automate it? Like, don't I mean, this is automation again. Is there a way to do, I mean, is there a way to automate the automation? Meaning, I don't want to come here and create, let's say, these rules every time on the portal. Is there a way? Yes. If you go here to code view, you will have a JSON syntax for the same thing. Meaning, you can take the entire rule object, place it in your ARM templates, and manage it in that way. Okay, guys, is this okay? This is what I expected, or this is what I kind of told about this particular question. That how do you manage the entire life cycle? Let's say what do you want to do with the entire life cycle and how do you want to manage this out? Okay, and guys, any questions here? Do you all now recollect we discussing about this one out? Yeah, any questions here, guys? Anything here? So the first task for today or for this particular week is that I have shown you how to add a lifecycle management on the portal. Can you do it using a PowerShell script? So manage life cycles using a PowerShell script. If you are doing it and using a PowerShell script, can you manage the same thing using ARM? If you are able to do both of the things, then which one do you think is better in the terms of management? Now, very simple. You'll just have to select, or you just have to basically do a Google search on just saying add life cycle management policy using PowerShell. Yeah, lifecycle policy issue and all that stuff. Not this one, but you'll have a documentation for this, or let's say Azure lifecycle management policy. No, not this one again. Let's come down and let's see for a Microsoft documentation, or let's say lifecycle management policy out here. Like, you will have different articles basically that are showing how to add this lifecycle management and all. And this is the entire script. And this is the command basically what I'm looking for. Add AZ policy action and all that stuff. And then you have a set AZ policy, something like this, or a new AZ policy management rule. And if you basically see this out, you'll have the Microsoft documentation also telling you, or also giving you the examples on how to do it, or how to do it, what are the examples and all that stuff. Like, what is the action, how do you basically set it out and all that stuff. So please check this out. Please see if there is a way to add the same thing using ARM template. So we are focusing upon automation this week. Please check to see if you can do it using ARM template. If you are able to do it using ARM and PowerShell, can you integrate this particular script with Azure DevOps? Integration of a PowerShell script with Azure DevOps. What do I want you all to do specifically is A, write a PowerShell or an ARM, anything is okay with me. But this PowerShell or ARM should add 5 storage accounts with 5 containers each. B, you should have another step adding the lifecycle policies. And I want the lifecycle policy to be in such a way that for an environment like dev, okay, 5 storage accounts in each and every environment, 3 environments, dev, QA stage, or dev, QA prod. In dev, you should have a 30-day rule, and after 30-day, your blob should be deleted. QA requires something which is a bit more on the lesser side, like let's say a 14-day rule, and after 14 days, the blob should be deleted. Prod, I want to retain my blobs. I want to retain the environment, meaning I want to make sure that the blobs are not deleted, but after 30 days, they are moved to an archive storage account or archive tier out here. And I want you all to manage all these things using Azure DevOps. Guys, do you all follow the requirement? A, do you all follow the requirement? B, do you all get an idea how to do this out? And this is exactly how is it going to be when you are actually going to a live environment. So what I'm trying to do out here is try to give you a feel on what really a live environment really looks like, on how really that you'll need to approach this out. Guys, is this okay?
Yep.
Adding the lifecycle policy means using the PowerShell.
Yes, using PowerShell, yes. So I don't want you to touch the portal at all. Azure DevOps, PowerShell, ARM. Like either ARM or PowerShell, I'm okay with that. Or if you want to go using Terraform, even more okay with that. So I want a PowerShell script in place to do this particular management for me. Is that okay, guys? Guys, any concerns there? Anything there? Any concerns out there? Okay. So now I've also asked a question between the difference between access keys and shared access signatures, Sanjay. Now this is something that you need to brush up. In the access key, I won't be able to set an expiration. If I give someone an access key, I won't be able to set an expiration. Here I don't have basically an option to go ahead and set the expiration. If I show key, expose this key out and give it to someone, they will have full access because it's an access key. But if you want to limit the access, you'll have to generate a shared access signature. And in the shared access signature, for the development team, I said they need a read and write, right? I don't want them to delete. I don't want them to, let's say, update, process, and all that stuff. I just want them to do a read and write out here. And I can generate here, I can set the expiration. I can here set the expiration. So it's a safer option to go ahead and share the shared access signatures and all that stuff. I mean, share these keys and etc. so that your development teams can gain an access to your storage account. So this is something that you all need to brush up, guys. Like a difference between access keys and shared access signature, especially when it comes down to something like a storage account. Okay.
Okay. Once we give here expiration date, can we modify later? Shared access signature?
No, you won't be able to modify that later because once you set that out and once you refresh your screen, right, that key will no longer, I mean, you cannot manage that key no longer. So
Okay.
while
I need to
setting it out,
redo.
you'll have to, yeah, you'll have to recreate something new.
Okay.
So any more questions here, guys, with this particular service?
And when we issue the key to the particular person, if he leave the organization, then do we need to do any task here?
Yes, you'll need to rotate the key. You'll have something known as a key rotation out here, meaning this will regenerate the key out here. If you rotate it, the older key will no longer be valid. The older key basically will no longer be available. Okay. So the rotation, like the best practice what we follow is that no matter who leaves, no matter who stays, we rotate the keys for 90 days or 60 days, anything which is okay. This is, let's say, a security mandate by my organization. So we have PowerShell scripts in place to rotate the keys. Very simple script. We have scheduled the pipeline to trigger every 90 days. It'll go ahead, trigger. We won't even notice that the keys have changed. Okay, all this is called as a key rotation and etc. That's what we do every 60 or every 90 days and etc. Okay. Any questions here, guys? Anything with this? Guys, anything with this? Anything? Now, the intention behind taking these interviews are to make sure that you guys are interview ready and know what are the requirements that are being asked in the real time. Okay, what are the requirements that are being asked, let's say, in the real time environment? Like, what is the requirement? Now, the simple thing, guys, is that your client will just come here and just tell you that, you know what, I need this task to be achieved. Let's say, take a day or two and tell me how can you achieve this out. Okay, this is how it's going to be. The third assignment that I want you all to do is yes, you have created storage by now using PowerShell, storage by now using, let's say, ARM. Can you all try doing the same thing with Terraform? So very simple thing. I need multiple storage accounts, like 5 in the same environment, and I want different configurations for each and every environment. Like for dev, it should be in LRS. For QA, it should be in GRS. For dev, it should be in, let's say, a location like East US. So two parameters that I want to be, kind of keep changing. One being the location, two being the SKU. So how do I change it? Using a Terraform. And the reason behind giving these assignments is to encourage a culture to think that way. I don't expect you all to achieve this like end to end, like 100% out here, but I want you all to think in that direction. Like thinking is very important for me. It's not the result, but it's the process what is important for me right now. Because when you think in that direction, you will know what is the complexity of it. You'll know how to implement this out, and you'll know basically how to do a best practice here and what exactly that you can expect from, let's say, the real-time environment as such. Guys, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
So this is the requirement 2 out here. So I mean, you can take a screenshot or whatever you want, or the video is any which way is going to be available for you all. You can, use this video in order to make sure to follow this particular requirement. So let's save this as mock 2 or requirement 2. And the second mock interview, like this was mock 1, right? So any volunteers for the mock 2, guys? Anyone apart from Sanjay, because Sanjay has already given mock 1. So anyone apart from that?
Yeah, Chandra here. I will take that one next week.
Okay, great. So mock 2 is going to be Chandra then. So let's say what I want in mock 2. Now in mock 2, it's going to be an increment, meaning all these services, yes, I need this out. Like whatever was were asked in mock 1, we'll just carry it forward so that we can do another revision on mock 1 again. So storages, and just see what are the kind of questions basically that we are asking in storages. Secondly, network integration with storage. That's what I was asking Chandra. Is that sorry? That's what I was asking Sanjay. Is that I have given the key to the developer, but the developer is telling me that he's able to see an error, something called forbidden. What can be the issue is that this particular storage account would have had a virtual network integration. I am not allowing people to directly log into it, but rather I'm putting something like a virtual network. Now, if you want the developer to access the storage account, either ask him to basically log into a virtual machine, which is a part of this network, or whitelist his IP. This can be the two options what you can give.
Okay.
So, storage with networking. Like, how can you integrate virtual networks to it? What are the best practices out here? And then let's move on to a bit of networking out here. Now, this is going to be crucial. So, I'll just touch on point to site, VNet to VNet peering, NSGs, like whatever is the connectivities and etc. NSGs and what are the different types of rules that you can associate here, and Azure DevOps. And this time Azure DevOps branches, policies. Again, the same thing. Today I haven't asked a lot on branches and policies, strategies, and build pipelines, specifically on .NET application. And automation, I will be targeting Terraform and PowerShell. How do you do this integration and etc. So this is going to be the mock 2 interview. And this is the focus area what I'll be looking at. And let's see what is next Saturday. Like the next week is like a bit of festivals and all, guys. So like it's more on festivals and all. So I'll try to pick up, if everyone is comfortable, then we can pick up a Saturday or a Sunday and just do it over a morning. Like if everyone is okay and not occupied with festival, if people are not comfortable with that, then I can go for the next weekend, which is 13th and 14th. So any which ways, I mean anything, I'm comfortable with this, guys. Okay. So it's up to y'all. If y'all ask me to go ahead and take a mock like the one that we did today, I can go ahead and take it on the next weekend, which is let's say 6th or 7th. Anything is okay with me. Or I can fall back on 13th or 14th. Is this okay, guys? So
Yes,
any
I'm okay with
concerns here?
both dates.
Okay. So let us know on the group. We'll schedule this accordingly. Like I need the opinion of everyone, so we'll schedule it accordingly. Once you all tell that, I'm okay to come on a weekend on the next weekend, and I'm okay to basically go ahead and take the mock interview. And Chandra, if you could forward me your resume, I can just go through it before I take your mock interview so that I have a better understanding of what your background is and what kind of a question that I can ask.
Yeah, sure. I not updated anything related to Azure and DevOps. Is that all fine, right?
No, I want you to do a bit of update with Azure and DevOps. Sanjay, if you can help Chandra on how to update it, as I've
Sure,
told you, it would be helpful.
sure.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And I've also forwarded a mock interview, let's say, I mean, not a mock interview, but an actual interview to Sanjay. Sanjay, if you can share it with the group, it will be a great help.
Sure, I will. I request team to share their email address in group so that I'll share to them. Or
Okay,
I
so
will try
guys,
to
please,
download and upload in group.
yeah, sure. Like it's a huge file, like it will be somewhere around 50 or 70 MB or stuff like that. So Sanjay, the interview that you
Yeah.
listened, right? It's completely based upon Azure and Azure DevOps. So how did you feel the standard of the interview was?
Yeah, it is too much means experts kind of things for me as of now. So
Okay,
I we need to prepare more based on that interview. I can see.
sure. So I'll also check if I have more interviews on the same thing, and I'll forward it to any one of you all so that you all can forward it to the group. So Sanjay, my request is please forward it to the group so that everyone can listen to the interview and see what exactly is the mind of the interviewer. Like what exactly is the interviewer really asking? Now, if you look at the thing today, is that I was only asking questions on what you were giving. So I was just doing a counter question on what you were telling on your profile. So you said that okay, fine, it is LRS, GRS, ZRS. That's when I said okay, fine, this is the replication tier. So I want you all to drive the interview. Now, the interview driving is a skill that can be practiced over many mocks, and then you'll be kind of comfortable while you're giving the real interview. And the real interview, yes, the standard is going to be high. I have like shared the interview, you all can go through it and see where are the areas that you feel that what, this could have been the answer, or this could have been the way that we deliver it. So interview is 20% of what the answer you give, 80% of how you give it, how you deliver things out. So that's what I want you all to focus upon. Now we had in the past when I was doing interviews, I mean I do interviews on, like in a week I take at least like about 3 or 4 profiles. That's what we process, because that's how the requirement for the projects where I am into basically kind of has. So as of now I am handling somewhere around 7 projects under me. So I have like about 7 projects basically where I am like the lead DevOps engineer. So we regularly have interview drives, so we know what to ask or we know where to ask. So if let's say it's a PaaS profile, we heavily focus upon PaaS. If it's an IaaS profile, we heavily focus upon networking. If it's a profile where we require a lot of automation and etc., we heavily focus upon that. So it depends upon what kind of a project we're taking the interview for, how we're taking the interview for, and etc. So I'll try to inculcate all those things with you all. So please don't feel shy. It's okay if you don't. If I'm pretty much okay if you, for every question, if you tell I don't know, I'm pretty much okay with it. But the intention is that you need to learn. You need to learn how to deliver it. That's the main intent out here. Is that okay, guys?
Sure.
Okay, so two things out here. Sanjay will just share the interview video with you all over a drive, so that you can download it and kind of listen to the interview. And the second thing is that please let me know about the dates. If you're okay with this particular date, like the next Sunday or the Saturday, I'll go ahead and schedule one. Or if everyone is busy with the festival, I don't want to disturb that, I can schedule it the next weekend. Okay, guys. So if there are no further questions, then I'm good to close for today. Please practice this out. Like these assignments are like, it'll come very, very handy. Please practice this out. We'll discuss upon this. Okay.
Sure.
And just a second before I close, Akila, the project that you have given me, I do not have access to this particular project. So the role what you've assigned me, I don't think I have like enough privileges here. So if I go to the users also, I'm not able to manage anything. So I'm not sure what kind of a role that I've been assigned on this particular project. So until and unless you give me a role, or you can, if you give me, let's say, at least a contributor access on that particular project, I won't be able to see it. Okay, so you'll have to go here and yeah, you'll have to go here and you'll have three dots out here, right? When you log in as an administrator, you'll have something known as manage access, and then you'll have the projects under it. So you'll have to select the project and give me at least a contributor or an administrator access will work.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so this is how you will receive an email once someone gives you the access, telling that what you are invited to this particular organization and etc. And if you all want me to add, I mean, if you all want me to be, let's say, a co-administrator to see how you are performing, please take this email ID, which is azureclasses123@gmail.com, and you can add me here. Once you add me, just tell me so that I can, go ahead look into it, so that I can check the email the way I did today. I can basically join into your organization. Is that okay, guys?
Yep.
Okay, guys. So have a great weekend ahead. We'll meet on the next weekend or the coming weekend, basically, and we'll try to do as many as mock interviews that we can, so that it will help each and everyone. And every week I want someone to volunteer on this one. It's not. Don't feel or don't take this as an embarrassment. Please take this as, let's say, an opportunity to kind of face the interview. And even though it's a mock interview, I'm asking all the questions what I generally take in the interviews. So it's almost like a real interview what you're trying to give out here. So please do that, and please let me know if there are any questions or anything. And please do ping me, and I'll help you all out. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, guys. Thank you. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you.